All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. As usual, it is Wednesday. You know what that means? Wanderlust Wednesday. I love Wednesdays where we throw something at you that maybe you've never heard before. A band you might not know, a song you might not know from a band you know. You get the gist. So, I had a few choices for today, but as you noticed, this week so far I've been in a rock and roll kind of mood. So we're talking rock and roll today, and I did not give this much thought until literally when I hit record. So we're going to see how this conversation goes. But all right, so first we're talking about this band, Bad Company. You guys know this band. We've done Bad Company once before, but that was the Paul Rodgers Bad Company. But remember, just to recap for those of you who don't remember, Bad Company, a rock supergroup formed in 1973. Two members from the band Free, including Paul Rodgers. One guy from Mott the Hoople, yep. And a little bit later, not much later though, a cat from King Crimson. So they put out obviously tons of great songs and albums all throughout the early and mid and late 70s, right? So we won't talk about that part of it, but all I have to say is Paul Rodgers, one of the most iconic and just best voices in rock and roll history, hugely underrated and not discussed. Remember, he went on to go with another supergroup, which we'll talk about in a second. So why am I talking about Bad Company? Mark, I know Bad Company. I know all their songs. Well, we're talking about 1985. Two of the guys, Ralphs and Kirk, these guys did a little side project, and then they wanted to do another side project, and the label's like, whoa. You guys can't keep doing side projects. We need another Bad Company record. But in 1985, Paul Rodgers was with The Firm. Remember? We talked about The Firm, super group. Great group. But they didn't have a singer, so they're like, we need a singer. So they figured out, how to get a singer. They picked up Brian Howe, who was the vocalist for Ted Nugent's band in 1983 for, I think, one record exactly. But he was introduced via somebody, and they brought him along. And he did a really good job with some of their records. Now, 86, they had Fame and Fortune, which did all right. 88, they did Dangerous Age, which was that song No Smoke Without a Fire. Awesome song, by the way. 90, Holy Water. Remember that song, Holy Water? And If You Needed Somebody? They were putting out some pretty good records. And then in 92 is the reason why we're talking here. The last Howe record is called Here Comes Trouble. And I just love this record. And it didn't get a whole lot of traction, but I do love this record. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But think about classic rock for a minute. This is the part that I didn't rehearse. So I didn't rehearse any of it, but I should have probably thought about what I was going to say. So go with me. You can correct me. But so some people say, rock and roll died. What happened to classic rock and roll? Sha Na Na famously said in Woodstock, rock and roll will never die. But then Roger Daltrey said rock is dead. Long live rock, right? Some people argue that rock and roll, just classic rock and roll, died like 1980 after The Clash and Bruce Springsteen. If you think about that, we were listening to, in the 80s, all true classic rock that was all recorded in the 70s. So was it dead then? I mean, think about Bad Company when they're putting out these records. New singer, yes, but like mid 80s, it's like MTV with modern rock, right? Lots of synthesizers. Late 80s, it's Hair Nation, big hair ballads, and more R&B dance stuff on MTV, more stuff like that, and rap. So like, where was classic rock in the late 80s? It was mostly that glam metal, right? That wasn't classic rock, but who was putting out rock records? Some of the same old rock legends were doing it, but there wasn't a whole lot of new material out there. And this record comes out in 92, and that's the year after Pearl Jam's out. So this is right when grunge is taking over. People didn't care anymore about classic rock and roll and Bad Company putting out a new record, right? I mean, they're all into grunge, and we're all listening to our old classic rock. So this record, I feel like, just got a little buried. So who carried that mantle anyway of classic rock as I keep going on? If you think about it, it was like grunge and metal had its time in the late 80s and the early 90s. I mean, Metallica, Megadeth, all these bands that you thought would never be mainstream, they all became mainstream. And then you can't say the Killers and bands like that. That's not classic rock and roll, as awesome as they are. Love that band. So really, it's like bands like the Strokes and Jet and the Black Keys. I don't know, Muse. I do have a band that I think has really put out the best classic hard-hitting rock song in the last 20 years, but I'm not going to talk about it right now, sorry. So anyway, we'll see if you guys can guess who that is. So all right, that's my rant about classic rock and roll. So this record, 6 minutes, sorry guys, this record, all right. So here's the tracks you got to check out. How about that? That went to number 38. That was decent. This could be the one. A little bit of a ballad. Went to number 87. Here's some 3 songs for you off this record that I really, really enjoy that you probably never heard before. Stranger Than Fiction. Here Comes Trouble. I love that song. And Broken Hearted. Love that song too. So these are the songs off this record that you need to check out. Bad Company from Here Comes Trouble, 1992. Stuck in early grunge. Tell me your thoughts about rock and roll. Is it dead? Did it die? Did it come back? It's just not rock and roll anymore. What are you thinking? All right, so that's your songs of the day. This is your record of the day. Tell me what you think about him. I like this guy's voice. I mean, he again, no Paul Rogers, but who is? But he did an awesome job all by himself, and you can check out No Smoke Without a Fire if you haven't heard that one in a while, or Holy Water. All right, have a good day, Wednesday, and as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.